Hi guys, how you doing today? So today we're going to discuss the man box, okay? And basically, the idea of a man box, right? It's a research that was done on men between the ages of 18 and 30 in the UK, Australia, Mexico, and the US, okay? And basically, it's an idea that was the man box, right? There was a term that was created by Paul Keevil, and it was expanded on by Tony Porter, okay? So they talked about the idea of a manhood, right? And what it means to be a man, basically, and how, you know, placing men basically into this box, right? Uh, what the effects were young men, right? Or guys between the ages of 18 and 30. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk about here, guys. I would like to, just talk about how, this idea, right? Or this label that was pretty much universally placed on guys, how it's harming not just guys, right, but also women, right? One thing that I do want to add also is that if you're born a man, right, you already are a man, okay? So, I know there's a lot of people are saying, okay, there's a masculinity crisis, right? And yada, 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 right? But if you were born a man, right, you already are a man. You don't have to be a man, okay? I think that notion of be a man, right? Like what a lot of young boys hear, right? Like be a man, right? Don't do this, be a man, right? Once again, that's placing them in the box, right? You guys have no idea how many times, like, just some random people told my son, right, who is like almost 4, he's 3 and 8, right? Anyway, so you have no idea how many times just like random strangers told, men and women, by the way, right, have told him like, hey, maybe he would start crying or something, right? And they would tell him, hey, you're a man, right? Guys, don't cry. and and I was like, wait a minute, no, actually, men and women have emotions, okay? And those emotions should be embraced, okay, and processed, right? We all should embrace them. We all should process them. It doesn't mean that we should be like emotional mushes, right? And just crying at the drop of a hat. Probably not, right? But there's a time and a place, right, for like expressing your emotions, I suppose, right? So we have to, sometimes we have to hold off our emotions, right? We have to, like in work settings, right? Or some other settings, right? Really, it doesn't have to be at work, right? But there are certain places that where we cannot fully express our emotions, so we have to repress them maybe for some time and then process them later on, right? Anyway, so the issue comes when we don't process those emotions, right? And they just get buried, get stuck in our bodies, right? And then we experience all kinds of physical manifestations, right? Or negative physical manifestations of those emotions that were suppressed, right? Anyway, so I believe this is what happens to a lot of guys, and I've talked about this in some of the videos, right, already. But yeah, but this was just one example, right, of what it means to be a man, right? The suppressing emotions, right? Anyway, so in this video, guys, I will talk about all of this, right? The man box also, right, it's perpetuated and supported and kind of like reinforced by society, right? We've all kind of been brainwashed by this idea of a man box, right, and what it means to be a man. So like I said, right, so what would happen is that if a kiddo, right, for example, is not acting like a man or like he should act like, right, like if he's not in that box, basically, right? If his behavior is outside the box, right? Then other people will take note, right? And they will try to reinforce, they will try to get him back into that box, right? And so that's the issue, right? Because we've all been basically brainwashed by this idea, right? It's conditioning, right? So at the end of the day, the idea of the man box, right, is conditioning. So guys are not really, men are not hardwired, right, to be in the man box, okay? They're socialized into it, okay? So they're socialized into it, and you know, other people just reinforce it, whether it's other men too, right? Especially other men, right? So they kind of like police one another, right? Or it's other women, right? Maybe it's in their relationships. Maybe I'm guilty of this myself. You know, I'm not gonna lie, right? I think we've all been conditioned to think that a guy should be a certain way, right? And same for girls too, right? So like, you know, of course this video is not for girls, right? But a woman also, they're expected to, I guess, be in a woman box, right? You guys have no idea how many times, you know, because of the way that I am, because maybe I'm more like, a lot of my interests are more masculine, like being into bodybuilding, right? And I don't know, being like outspoken, right? Being direct, being like driven, right? Anyways, but I will tell you all the qualities that a man should have, right? Anyways, I can tell you this, right? That I personally have a lot of these qualities myself as a woman, right? And I was born a woman. I am a woman, obviously, as you can tell, right? But you guys have no idea how many times I've been called like a man, right? Because I display like masculine, right, qualities. Anyways, so it just goes to show that this idea of a man box or a woman box, right? I don't know if they have this term, right? But I'm making it right now. A woman box, right? Basically, at the end of the day, guys, labels hurt, okay? Labels hurt not just men, right? But women too, okay? Because guys are expected to behave a certain way, right? Even if they're not this way necessarily, right? And same applies to women, right? Women are expected to behave a certain way and be a certain way, right? Which ultimately doesn't allow us to fully express ourselves as individuals, right? As human beings, as you know, the consciousness behind all of those labels, right? We're so much more than this, right? Yeah, we ultimately, I believe all of us just came here to have this beautiful human experience, right? And to be able to express ourselves in a way that we're free to do so, right? And so these socialized, right? These this conditioning, right, this socialization, it really just hinders the expression of ourselves, right? It hinders us, and we can't fully express ourselves. And you know, of course, that's a shame, you know. And yeah. Anyway, so this is what I'm gonna talk about in this video. Okay, guys. So men are, right, according to this particular study, right, or this research. So the man box, right? Who falls into this man box, right? Or what is a man supposed to be like, right? So men are supposedly, right, they're breadwinners. That's number one, right? They're violent, okay? They're mean, they're bullies, they're tough, they're angry, they're active, they're strong, right? They're successful, like always successful, always have money, right? They're in control of women, right? So they treat women as objects, basically, right? So just, you know, I hate to promote this guy, right, even farther, I do have a lot of empathy for this guy, right? You guys probably know him, right? Because he's been like the most Google guy, I don't know, in this year or last year, I don't know, right? Anyways, but it's Andrew Tate, right? So Andrew Tate, if you can think of a guy, right, that's inside this man box, is that's Andrew Tate for you, okay? Um, yeah, I would even go as far as to say that, um, you know, Andrew Tate is a representation of guys that are of toxic masculinity, right? In many ways. Of course, in a way, I do think that he's a very smart guy with a lot of great ideas, right? And he is definitely onto something when he talks about just the world at large, right? I do agree with him on a lot of those. Kind of discussions and topics, right? But not when it comes to females. He seems to, this guy, right? And I'm gonna just talk a little bit about him, is because he does relate to the man box, right? He is the man box, basically, right? His behavior represents that of the man box, right? The qualities that considered manly in the man box, right? Anyway, so. Andrew Tate, I believe, is an unhealed guy, right? His masculinity isn't healed. He feels like he has to put on this front, right? It's a guy who is unhealed. He's not showing us his true self. He's all about the ego, right? He's all about his false self, which kind of ultimately it just shows that he's not the best role model for all of the guys out there. If you guys do look up to Andrew Tate, then you should definitely rethink that, because he is. And I don't want to talk bad about him, right? Because he is an unhealed man, and I watched a lot of his videos, right? I can just tell that he hasn't healed. He's still pissed off at females. He doesn't like them very much, right? And that's because he hasn't healed, right? So he attracts females that are also unhealed, so he ultimately he attracts low quality females, right? That kind of just perpetuates that cycle, right? So he attracts low quality females. They hurt him, right, or they do something shady, and then his confirmation bias, right, his false beliefs get confirmed, right, and and he just continues to think negatively about females, right? So that's part of the problem. Anyway, so yes, exactly, guys. So that's what happens, right? Anyway, so I'm going to go back to the man box again, right? So what kind of feelings does the man box create for guys, right? The feelings are confusion, right? So a male feels confused, angry, scared, okay, ashamed, alone, stupid, powerless, vulnerable, like he wants to take revenge, right? Hopeless and worthless, okay? And so what else does being a man mean, right? In this box that a lot of guys were placed in, right? Pretty much universally, I would say. But this study was like I said, it was carried out in US, the UK, Australia, and Mexico, right? So males, right? They're not supposed to have emotions, okay? Right? They have to stand up for themselves. Um, yeah. Then they yell at people, right? They can take it, right? They don't make mistakes, right? They don't cry. They take charge, right? They push people around, right? They know about sex, right? So they're always experienced in this area. They know all about sex. Though they don't back down, right? and they take care of people, right? So they're responsible for other people, right? And they have to carry the load on their shoulders all by themselves. Anyways, guys, so you know, according to this, basically, to be honest with you, when I was like kind of reading about this, right, I kind of analyzed this man box myself, and I found like a lot of different similarities, right? If you consider narcissism, right, and the qualities that men are supposed to embrace that are in the man box, right? It's extremely similar, actually, guys, right? I found a lot of similarities, right? So, if men basically are trained to be not like narcissists, right? Well, narcissists, they're basically what? They lack emotions too, right? So ultimately, they can't connect to anyone, right? So they're always competing against people, right? Um, they're not looking at their fellow human beings as like someone who is equal, right? Someone that they can connect with, right? They're looking at their fellow human beings as a competition, right? And that's how I think a lot of guys are in many ways. That's what I've noticed, right? Is that they're looking to compete, and unfortunately this also kind of like extends to their relationships too, in the past I've also had like even the guy that I was the guy that I had a really good relationship with, right? He still like he still had that, he still was in many ways a victim of that man box, even though this guy was homeschooled, he was homeschooled, he was extremely intelligent, he was very social, right? And so he was different, he was different because he didn't have that like formal education and socialization, and that whole experience of basically brainwashing, right? So he was really, really different, but still, he fell into some of these traps, Anyway, so also some of the characteristics that are similar, right? To a narcissist is like, don't show emotions, right? Don't cry, don't admit your mistakes, right? Narcissists also, they don't admit their mistakes, right? What else? Pushing people around, right? Narcissists also have to push people around. They have to have someone to bully, right? Yeah, yell at people, right? Also yell at people, right? Similar, right? Here, narcissists, they you know yes, absolutely, they go into rages, right? Sometimes, so they might not express their emotions, but then they will get so pissed off that they will start yelling, right? So the only thing that they can express is rage, right? And like really, really intense strong emotions when they just get out of control, right? Anyway, so and I think that guys, once again, they need to not suppress their emotions, right? But they need to learn how to regulate them. They need to learn how to express them in healthy ways, right? And that will ultimately help everyone involved, right? It will help a woman, it will help their relationships, it will help them, right? Most importantly. So guys, this man box, right, it ultimately affects both males and females, right? It affects their satisfaction and self-confidence, right? It affects their mental health. It affects their friendships and support seeking, right? It affects risky behaviors, right? Attractiveness and bullying and violence, okay? So it leads to bullying and violence also, okay? So, guys who are in this man box or who identify with it the greatest, right? They tend to, display a lot of these, you know, a lot of behaviors that are associated with like, violence, right? Online bullying and harassment and sexual harassment, right? Also, guys who identify or strongly agree with the idea of a man box, right? They basically experience poor levels of mental health also, right? They engage in more behaviors of like risky driving, right? Uh, they're more likely to be in car accidents, and yeah. So as you can tell, right, the man box this study showed, right, that the man box is harming men, right? Because once again, right, people are so different, right? Males and females, right? And we once again, labels harm, right? People are so dynamic, right? We're so different. We're so unique. Not everyone is the same, right? Just because you're a guy doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be this fearless superhero, right? That is, that you've grown up like having as your role model, right? Or growing up watching as a kid, right? Ever since you were a kid. And of course not. I've come to realize that males and females, right? They're different. They're very different, right? So you know, while a female might display a lot of these, qualities, right? A guy might not. Okay, of course, we do. That's not to say that guys and girls are they're supposed to be the same, right? Of course not. Of course not. But and ultimately our biology, right? It will our hormones, right? The way that, like for example, higher testosterone in guys, right? Once again, not all guys have an extremely high levels of testosterone, right? Some might have slightly lower levels of testosterone, and some might have a slightly higher one. They're probably most likely much higher than that of females, right? Anyway, so the testosterone then might make them behave in a certain way, right? In certain ways, which distinguish them from females in a way, right? So that's why, for example, like guys who I've read that between ages of like 3 and 6, the guy's testosterone surges, right? And because of that, they become really active, right? They don't like to sit still, right? Unlike female girls, right? And so, like, because of these little differences, right? A lot of guys are getting misdiagnosed with all kinds of like disorders, right? Which is nonsense. And so of course we have to consider these biological differences too, right? But at the same time, every individual is an individual, and guys can be considered more feminine, right? Like as in like beta, I guess, if you believe in that, right? Like alpha, beta, right? Some guys are slightly more feminine, right? And that's okay. Anyways, that I think the main point is that you accept who you are, and you discover who you are as a person, right? You discover who you are, not necessarily as a male or a female, but as a person, right? Like, what do you like? What do you dislike, right? So some of your hobbies might be a little bit more feminine, and that is okay, right? I don't know. Some of the things that you do might be a little bit more feminine, and that's okay too. It doesn't mean that the right girl for you will not find you attractive. The right female for you will find you attractive no matter what society says. Okay, don't let society dictate who you are or who you should be. Okay. So guys, ultimately, right, it is okay to express your feelings, okay? as long as you, once again, right, as long as you're expressing them in healthy ways and I guess in proper situations, right, in situations that you're free to express them in, right, like not at work perhaps, right. It's okay for you to connect deeply with others, right? That I think as human beings, that's what we all desire. It doesn't matter whether you're a female or male, right? I think we all desire these deep connections, right? And I think also because guys have been so conditioned to be disconnected from their emotions, right? To basically not feel. I think guys especially are extremely thirsty for this connection, right? So of course, what I'm gonna add is, if you're seeking that connection, seek it with God. With God, I believe you will never feel alone. You will always have a relationship, right? It doesn't matter what will happen on the outside, right? You'll always have that inner connection with God, right? And I think that's the deepest and the best thing you can do for yourself, right? But of course, once again, we do also need external connections, right? And so yeah, try to yeah, just understand that it's for you, it's perfectly normal to seek those connections, right? Anyways, I'm going to talk about my toddler just a little bit, right? I noticed, why did I decide to even discuss this topic, right? It's because I noticed that my kiddo, right, the kitty cat is meowing. He's a little sick. He's poor guy. And back to the toddler, right? My toddler, right? I noticed that he doesn't have any conditioning, right? Yet he hasn't been socialized, so he wants to hug his friends. He's almost 4, right? And he wants to hug them. He wants to hold their hands. He's a male, right? And they're males too, and they're okay with it too, right? So they just hold hands, right? They hug. It is not sexual. It's just something that is so completely normal for all of us. Hugs release all kinds of different hormones that make us feel good, right? And uh, they do really help us feel more connected to one another, so that's okay, right? So yeah, I just noticed that a lot of his behaviors, right? Like for example, guys are conditioned to go after girls, right? And they're supposed to be the ones that are like they need to be like making the move, right? They have to ask girls out, right? Anyways, what I noticed is that uh, when they're small, right, it's actually the opposite. When they haven't been conditioned yet, right? So it's actually like the girls that go after the guys. In most cases, the girl, if she likes the guy on the playground, right, she just she goes up to him and like takes his hand or something, or just kisses him on the cheek or hugs him. And the guy is like usually the one running away. So I find this kind of like really funny and very strange, but in a way it makes sense because a lot of girls, like behind closed doors, have expressed this to me, have expressed this frustration to me. They would say something like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to make the move. I just want to ask him out. Myself. Like, I don't care if he does it. I will just do it. It's much easier. I'm really fearless. I'm really confident, right? But unfortunately, that's not how we've been conditioned, so when this does actually happen to a guy, right, and an adult woman or a teen girl asks him out, right, then he feels like he's not man enough, right? He feels like she's being too masculine, and that makes him feel too feminine, right? Anyways, I think it is all conditioning, honestly. It really is. Anyway, so what are some things that you guys can do, okay? I don't know if it's males that are watching this, right, or females. First of all, right, of course, this behavior in men, right, this the guys who do live in this box, right, and because once again, right, guys, if you do step out of line, right, if you don't participate in this idea of a man box, right, if you, for example, don't like catcall women, right, when you're in a group of guys, or when you behave in a way that's that's not considered as manly, right, as masculine, then other guys might shame you, right? Other guys might make you feel bad. Other guys might label you as a gay guy, right? Other guys might laugh at you, right, and will make you feel small and feminine and so on, right? So yeah, so guys, just once again, right, sometimes you just have to step away from those that have been conditioned, right, and find your clique. Be okay, or learn okay to be to be on your own, right? Learn okay to be by yourself, and to find connections with people who support you and who accept you as you are, right? No matter how you are, right? So I think that's my advice to you, right? Because once again, right, being in this man box, it harms men, right? It harms women too. Women experience, because of this, more sexual harassment, a lot of domestic violence, right, when emotions are unexpressed, for example, right, or when yeah, anyways, so men, because of these ideas, right, men and women, they experience a lot of clashes, right, in their relationships. So it creates a lot of tension. It creates domestic violence. It creates suicides, and all kinds of just negative stuff, I would say, right? Stuff that we can avoid if guys were to just accept themselves as they are, right? Find the right friends, right, that will support you, that will be okay with you being yourself, no matter what that definition is. It is ultimately up to you to discover who you are. Don't let society tell you how you should be, okay? Discover who you are, and don't apologize for being who you are. And of course, as a man, you will probably be a little bit different, right, in comparison to a female, and that's okay, right? Just as a female is a little bit different in comparison to a male, right? For example, like I noticed some things like, you know, females are ultimately more, they prefer when they're younger, right? They prefer to play with dolls, right? And babies. And my son wasn't interested in that, right? I noticed that guys, they're not that interested in that. They're more interested in trucks and like cars, right? And fixing things, So you can notice these little differences, right? And I'm not saying all little boys and all little girls are like this, but this is what I've noticed, right? From many different kids, basically, right, so far. So there are obvious differences too, right? So we should definitely embrace those differences, but at the same time discover who we are, and just put your middle finger up to those that want us to be a certain way. We don't have to succumb to societal pressures, because at the end of the day, we should be allowed to express ourselves fully. We shouldn't have to be suppressed, okay? So don't suppress others, okay? If you are, if you do fall into that mailbox, right? Stop suppressing others. Stop making fun of other guys that display maybe slightly different characteristics. Understand that you probably have some of your own too. You're just suppressing them. Okay. Anyways, much love to you guys, and I will see you next time. Please subscribe and like and comment. All right, bye.